Bruce Boudreau is out. Rick Tocchet is in. Auston Matthews is out. And Alexsander Barkov is in. And some rumblings of miscommunications or lack of communications in the Calgary Flames locker room here on Locked On Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnNHL. And they are the official sportsbook of Locked On, so that is so fantastic to hear. Today, we're just going to relax. If you're listening when this goes live, it is Saturday. So I figured, probably cold. You stayed up late watching the Flames last night. Bundle up with your blanket and some coffee or tea or whatever you're doing and get comfortable because we have a lot of gossip to talk about. And I love when I can do these news and notes episodes and there's actually like gossipy things to talk about rather than just like hard, heavy news because it can take a toll on you. And I don't want to, just be out here the negative all the time. But Auston Matthews, it was announced today that he is missing up to 3 weeks with a sprain. Let's see. Matthews out at least 3 weeks for Maple Leafs with knee sprain, and he is going to obviously miss the AllStar Game and is the second in Toronto in goals and third in points. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have ever had a sprained knee, but I did 2 years ago almost, and it was some of the worst pain of my life. I thought I had a compound fracture when I fell and hit the ground. Just kidding. I just dislocated my knee and sprained my meniscus and managed to bruise the hardest bone in your body. But this isn't about me. This is about Auston Matthews. And so he gets replaced with Alexsander Barkov, which to me doesn't make sense. And as you know, the internet acted as the internet reacts because it's Auston Matthews, it's Toronto. Everything is against Toronto or everything's for Toronto, depending on which side of the aisle you're on. But to me, when they say every team has to be represented, I don't think that just means initially. Like, to me, that means every single team will have a player representing them at the All-Star Game, not just on your graphic. So for Barkov to be there with Tkachuk, it does give me weird vibes, like not in like a rigging type of way or anything like that. Don't get it twisted. But I don't know. I feel like you should at least have like Nylander or, Marner there. I don't like, how do you ask people? Like, if I was a player, are you kidding me? I would be on vacation. I would be on the next flight out of here. You wouldn't be getting me to reschedule that. So maybe they knew that Barkov would still be in the area, like he wasn't leaving on vacation or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Or what happens if you do get called as a replacement? Like, do you have to stay and, lose all the money for your vacation? I mean, you're rich, so I feel like it doesn't impact you as much. But can you decline and not face suspension? That's, definitely something that we should look into. And the All-Star games, as across the leagues, I think it's less about the games, but more, for me anyways, it's the skills competitions. I loved last year when they did the when you had to shoot the puck at the board and get 21 and you're playing blackjack, or when Jack Hughes and Trevor Zegras did like their little magic trick. I love things like that. To me, I don't care. I can watch a hockey game any night of the week pretty much. So it's silly to play the games, but I think that they should do more of the skills competition. To me, that is more fun. That's more entertaining. And it gives it a different light too, because like, you have the fastest skater, and I love that they are including some of the national teams women in it this year as well, which is always so much fun. And I hope that we get to see more of that, more collaboration there, and hopefully with the PHF as well. But the like I mentioned, Twitter reacted very normally to this, as they do with every other piece of Toronto Maple Leaf news. But on the other side, you do have to worry about Matthews' health and him, getting injured at this point in the season, and what that means for the playoffs. Because just because, you're injured, you're projected to miss 3 weeks, doesn't mean you're going to miss the 3 weeks. You could miss less or you could miss more. It's all about, what your pain tolerance is, and the severity of the injury. So wishing him nothing but the best. And he's one of those names that, people want to see. I was so excited to see him play back in 2019 when I went to a Bruins game. It was a random Tuesday night game. Tickets were super cheap, and it was like beginning of the season too. So it was fun. I was so excited to see him, to see Marner, to see Nylander, to see Tavares. Like it was a good game, and just Bruins won, so it's even better. But you go to support your team, but then to also watch the Stars. And I think the AllStar Game is a perfect reason to do that, or not excuse, but it's the perfect opportunity to do that. So if you are able to ever go to the AllStar Game, I say why not? If it's affordable, do it. But if not, then wait for a random Wednesday night game in the dead of winter, and hopefully you can see some of the Stars. Coming up next, we are going to talk about the Vancouver Canucks situation a little bit, just because I feel like everybody's favorite internet grandpa deserves some justice, and Bruce Boudreau just absolutely broke my heart earlier this week. But before we do that, I do just want to take a quick minute here to talk about our next partner here at Locked On Flames. And the NFL playoffs are here, and we are really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On, because they're the number one sports book in America. And yes, that would be FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. I'm telling you right now, if I can understand it and there's numbers involved, especially with like the minus 650s or the plus 620s, like you will get it too. New customers, if you join today to get started with $150 free in bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. And football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. What a weekend. It's the championship, divisional championship games for the NFC and AFC. My Cowboys are out, so I don't really care. But I would love to see the 49ers make it to another Super Bowl. But alas, let's talk about a team that has no luck on their side, and that would be the Vancouver Canucks. So a little too long, don't read, TLDR. The Vancouver Canucks have been struggling this season. That is no secret. Bruce Boudreau is kind of doing the best that he could to keep this team afloat and keep JT Miller happy. And one of the worst kept secrets in hockey was the Canucks were in talks with Rick Tocchet like 4 or 5 weeks ago, probably longer than that. And Kevin Weeks leaked it and then deleted the tweet. So I can only imagine, the kind of rumblings that were going around the Canucks locker room. And after that, the Canucks were already struggling, and there really wasn't a corner for them to turn. It was just a matter of them continuing down that path, and they did. They did. They've had some injuries this season with Tanner Pearson. They basically said, "Oh, it's not as bad as we think it is, so he can play." And then at one point during the middle of a game, he comes out and it's basically like, yeah, like this kid needs season-ending surgery. So things are going very well there. Boudreau was doing a great job with his media, appearances. He was never disgruntled. He always kept, just like, I just wanted to like sit across from him and talk to him at like a Waffle House or like a Cracker Barrel and be like, "Hey, Grandpa, can you pass like the pads of butter or something?" Like, just so kind and so like, I don't want to say gentle because that sounds weird, but just very forgiving. I think that he has been in the hockey world long enough, and I believe he owns a hockey team as well in one of the junior leagues, or less than that, a league below that. But he's very professional. He is not someone that, you know, he he knew he was being fired and he still went out there and did his job night after night. And one of the most heartbreaking things of this was that he went out and did a media availability before one of his last games and basically got really emotional and choked up about what the game of hockey means to him. And it's so hard watching someone who has dedicated their life to something, who truly has not done anything wrong in this situation, mind you. This comes down to the Canucks and Jim Rutherford, but the Canucks front office. And of course, the way that the team's playing with what they have, the players and coach can only do so much. But it was basically announced that Rick Tocchet was going to be coming in and Boudreau was fired. And after the game, like, players went into Bruce's office and like had a beer with him and they were crying with him, giving him hugs, and just, I have never, ever, ever seen a coach go out like this in any sport. I mean, maybe like aside from Alex Cora in 2019, but that's so different. But in hockey, we see these coaches get replaced left and right by like some of their own best friends, and for Boudreau to just stand there and take it with class and just say, "Yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with my wife in our forever home in Pennsylvania." Like, that's, to me, that's someone that is more mature than I could ever be. And now we have to talk about Rick Tocchet, because how do you watch this go down and then accept a job with this team that is willing to throw their coach under the bus? Throw the nicest man probably in Canucks history under the bus because they think that the coach is the problem. So the Canucks ended up losing 5-1 during Tocchet's coaching debut, and like Bruce, there it is, chants broke out. And I'm sorry, that is so awkward. Like, this team clearly like isn't there. They're in a rebuild phase. They're very late to the party on where they should be in their rebuild stage. They're not, they should have done this years ago. And it's so odd that this team just didn't fire Bruce when that news broke. Maybe it had to do with Tocchet's TNT contract, but at the same time, you can fire this coach and have an interim step in and then bring someone in. I don't know. I have a hard time rationalizing it, because I think that Bruce like didn't do anything wrong. He went out there, he did his job every night with the tools he was given to work with. It's not like he could go out there and say, "I want to trade for XYZ." The Canucks have no money. They could be trading their captain at the deadline. They could be moving a lot of things, a lot of pieces at the deadline. They just signed JT Miller to a long extension, an expensive extension. So you're going to have some moving pieces over the next season or two. And I think that the Canucks are going to be a very different team I don't know, probably I would even say by this summer, by free agency. I think things are going to look a lot different. And I'm very interested to see how different they are and how things go, just because I don't know where any of the positive sides are for the Canucks right now. And it's a real shame. They have some good players and good talent, but it's not enough to complete the roster. And that's really not their fault. That's, irresponsible spending from management. It happens. But again, that falls on the owners and the front office and not the players out there going to do their jobs. Coming up next, we are going to talk about the Flames and some insider gossip that I have gathered from a very reliable source. And thank you all so much for tuning into Locked On Flames. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. I have heard from a reliable source that there is an issue with communication in the Calgary Flames locker room, or I guess the organization as a whole, not so much the locker room. But this source says, I know the Matthew Phillips situation. Oh, no, that is not the right text. I'm sorry. There has been an issue when a player is placed on waivers or they are recalled. There isn't communication on either side, really. It's not, some people are finding out through Twitter. Some people are finding out from their family calling or texting them. So it's not this made up thing that fans are talking about. It is something that is very clear and happening even to veteran players, veteran NHL players, I should say, not veteran Flames players. But, it's disappointing to see because I think that the Flames are an organization that is one of the better run organizations in terms of not just seeing players as pawns. They're actually kind of viewed as individual human beings, which is always nice because that is what they are. And of course, I think that it's a matter of who's behind the bench and facilitating some of these decisions. And then with there's no warning of any of, these waivers or transactions happening. And I understand an emergency recall can happen, but you shouldn't find out from an Elliot Friedman Twitter notification that you're being placed on waivers. Like, could you imagine if that's how you find out that your job is not demoting you, but moving you to a different department? Oh my God, I'd have so many questions. And, especially if your boss isn't necessarily someone who is that strong at communicating with you and doesn't really, clearly doesn't have respect for you to just not tell you in person. But that's the Flames, baby. And then we have talked about it a lot in terms of players not being called up due to size, and it's holding some weight here because, again, another insider, same one, has said, I know the Phillips situation has been beaten to death, but I just want to say his size is not the problem, which we knew that. I've seen him get into scrums and hold his own. It's just an excuse they were using to keep him out of games. And I think any of us can sit here and say that rings true, especially if you watch him play, he plays well. Peltz is getting a lot of time on the ice, and his time on ice is racking up quickly, and he's seeing more special teams time as well. And I'm so happy for him, and I don't want that to sound like I am happy for him and that he's getting time over Matthew Phillips, and Matthew Phillips doesn't deserve the chance. I think that they both deserve equal chances, but right now there isn't the equal opportunity for them at the moment within the organization. Walker Duehr is somebody who can eat those fourth line minutes. He is not a top 6, top 9, true top 9 forward. That's what they're developing him into. So with Brett Ritchie being activated as well, I wouldn't be surprised if Duehr does, get sent back down. And hopefully he finds out from his coach and not through someone's Twitter account, because that would be a little bit rough. But I think that Pelletier getting minutes is fantastic. I think that it's something that we should all be celebrating, especially with Ritchie coming back. You could see an argument for other people coming out of the lineup and Pelt's just replacing them on that second line wing, right? His time went from like 5 minutes to 7 minutes to I think like 15 minutes. So I will give Daryl Sutter credit in terms of knowing how to build up a player's stamina in the NHL. And that's about as much credit as you're going to get from me, because we don't celebrate the bare minimum here, and neither should you. So thank you, everyone, for tuning into Locked On Flames. As always, I'm Jess Belmosto, and I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. And we are going to be wrapping up the month of January with some guests on the podcast as well. And we're so close to episode 500. So I look forward to celebrating that milestone with you as well. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts. And I will see you Monday. Bye-bye.